And good afternoon, Rando fans. We are back with another Week 6 race in the ALTTPR League here on Speed Gaming. I am Cool Papa Bell 2282, one of your commentators for today. Along with me is Jinxie Girl. Jinxie, how are you doing today?
I am doing great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Wouldn't have it any other way. So we have a race between So15 representing Shovel is the True Go mode and DIVISIGNS for Oops, da war's auch nicht. Let's see, let me check who our pilots are real quick. We've got Alan piloting So15 and Roland Tankier is piloting DIVISIGNS. So what are you looking forward to in this particular race?
I really like seeing the low percent fights. I think it really shows a lot of practice and just, I guess, commitment to the game, if you will. Like just how many people have really worked on their 4-heart blind or 4-heart macula. It's really exciting to watch.
Yeah, whenever you're running one of these, you are always living on the edge with what safeties you have and, you know, what weapons you have and that sort of thing. So runners really have to take some pretty strong risks to, really compete in this mode. And so our runners are definitely going to be living on the edge today.
Yeah, definitely. And especially with the early game of this log where you don't see the spoiler until you actually start the game. I think just seeing how some people start off like the Houlihan play, excellent idea, kind of getting some money in the first start. We have So heading over to, I'm assuming, Kakariko Village. So it's really interesting.
Yes. So the info about things like the tree poles and the bush crabs are in the spoiler log. It's just really hard to find since the pilots have just gotten the log when the runners start. They don't exactly have time to relay all of that information when they're trying to find where some items are. So yeah, it looks like DIVISIGNS did that early Houlihan and is going to go to Uncle, whereas So was planning on just heading straight toward Kakariko Village and is in Blind's hut right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially early while they're kind of coming up with a plan, doing these checks where you have a plethora of items. Looks like we already know where our Titans are. Div picking up one from Uncle and So finding one over in Blind's hut.
Yeah, comment in chat about maybe Zora is a thing. Houlihan is also just a really common opening because in that minute that you spend picking up some rupees, your pilot can sort of figure out where to send you first. And then you have a lot of options since it spits you out at Link's house. You can go south, you can go over to Sahasrara, you can head up to the Uncle if there's one good item to be grabbed there. So that's a fairly standard play and might not actually depend on the particular seed.
We see our first pod key from So.
Yeah, interesting that dip into the well just for that pod key from the looks of things.
Yeah, not only do you have to route in the different items, but you also have to take keys into account.
Yeah, the key sanity makes this mode really interesting and really challenging because there are those extra sort of requirements you need before going to a dungeon that you have to parse from the spoiler log and figure that out. So since our runners will not be doing any map checks for us today, let me list off our pendant and crystal information from the spoiler log. We have pendants on Tower of Hera, Skullwoods, and Misery Mire, with the green pendant at Tower of Hera, And then the 5-6 crystals are at Swamp and Desert.
Yeah, interesting setup because could be some useful items in those pendant dungeons.
Yeah, and we do have that Meyer big key already, despite being a red-blue pendant.
Still running on very low health. We do have our Titan's Mitt, so that is Dark World access. However, we do not have that Moon Pearl just yet.
We saw there some intense piloting on DIVISIGNS' side, only opening or leaving behind 2 of those chests in Blind's hut there, so has been told by his co-pilot exactly which chests in that location to open. And with both runners going over to Sahasrarla's hut early on to pick up some flippers, and then so heading straight down to South Shore, it seems like we're going to do some swimming in just a minute.
There's our book in Moldorm Cave. Wow, that was stacked.
Yeah, a couple of keys, Book of Mudora, which gives us access to Desert Palace.
Grabbing that book, maybe something on one of the tablets or perhaps in Desert Palace. Oh wow, very nice. Mail upgrade as well as that Moon Pearl. That's definitely, I think the mail upgrades definitely come more into play in this mode than, you know, other modes, obviously, because it is such a low percent, and having it right by a required item is so convenient.
Yeah, because you can pick up 4 or 5 hearts or get just about the same effect with 1 mail upgrade, right? Effectively, you have more health at that point. So yeah, those armor items are really nice to find in this mode. Also, I think it's worth pointing out that those flippers were hard required to get that Moon Pearl, since you can't fake flipper your way into Waterfall Fairy without it. And some really clean mini Moldorm caves with bombs from both of our runners.
Oh, so heading right into the castle. Oh, there was Sankart for still.
This is actually, by spoiler standards, a pretty healthy seed so far. I mean, we're at 6 hearts and blue mail already. I have definitely seen some races where the runners would have killed to have this much health.
Yeah, I definitely feel like while speed and execution is certainly more dominant here in this mode, taking a couple seconds out to kind of build up your health and grab a mail upgrade definitely, I think, is a good investment, especially early game.
Yeah, and it's an interesting factor too that since our runners can be theoretically watching the restream if they are interested in that, that you can sort of see how your opponent's doing, see how far you're ahead or behind, and then alter the risks that you're taking accordingly. So grabbing some health early on and then maybe living on the edge a little bit more later is definitely a possible option.
Yeah, for sure.
So went all the way down to Zelda Cell for another Palace of Darkness small key. That might be the most accessible one. Sometimes you look through the log and say, oh, the other ones are in Turtle Rock or deep in a pendant dungeon, and Zelda Cell is actually our best option here.
Yeah, I mean, especially if there's something of value in pod, kind of grabbing the easiest keys is probably one of the better ideas. Looks like So heading straight into Thieves Town.
Yep, looks like both of our runners are interested in that mirror. We don't have the Thieves Town big key yet, or any sort of weapon to deal with blind. So, it looks like the mirror is going to set up a little bit of the Smith's chain for us. So both of our runners ending up on a very similar route. I think we're still in the part of the race where the pilot is a little bit frantically trying to figure out what to do. The first 10 to 20 minutes, you are just trying to stay 10 seconds ahead of your runner, trying to be just barely telling them where to go in time.
Yeah, and also having a co-pilot definitely changes, I don't know, how you play the game, because your co-pilot might route or be more comfortable doing certain things that you might not be comfortable with. So definitely knowing your teammate and knowing their play style is definitely going to be important in this mode. You don't want to send someone who's not comfortable with 5-heart Mothula into Skull Woods. I like this routing on Div's side here. I think this is going to make his gameplay a little easier. I'm just giving kind of what may be in Skullwoods without giving spoilers.
So question in chat, the German roughly translates to "Oops, it's not there either." Yeah, that's a pretty good rando team name. All right, so some interesting divergence from our runners here. DIVISIGNS is going to pick up something here in Skull Woods, whereas So just headed straight down to Hype Cave out of Village of Outcasts.
Another small pod.
And a vanilla Skull Woods big key today. So I'm guessing we're going to see that big chest right away as well.
So picking up the big key to Swamp Palace, as well as another heart. So definitely a lot more healthier on So's side, health-wise.
Yeah, so had another heart coming into the Dark World as well. I'm not sure if I remember where that was. Ooh, silvers.
Yeah, definitely nice to have, especially if we have to take on Vitreous or something else gross. And if those swords are buried, those silvers are going to add a lot more. Oh, there's another pod small in Skullwoods. Looks like So is heading straight to pod. So something of value there. Oh, too small. Pod
Wow.
in Skullwoods.
Yeah, so was it So who went to Zelda's cell? I believe it was, which that might explain why DIVISIGNS did not then, if they were already planning on heading into Skullwoods and picking up those 2 pod keys there and getting silvers along the way. But both of our runners with 3 pod small keys, so clearly we need those.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even in just a general seed, pod usually has value. In Key Sanity, it just makes it so much more valuable because 6 of those keys are now throughout the world. So that leaves 6 more item locations.
Yeah, and depending on the pod layout, you can get away with sometimes only 1 or 2, but if there are actual items you need to pick up from the back, you might need several.
Well, so down to half a heart here. Has to be careful coming up in the next room in that hellway. Look like Div is also heading over to pod.
So is all set up for a death warp, but that's a little bit dangerous.
Oh, there's our first sword.
Totally calculated. So had it all planned out. Nice dodge around the enemy there for DIVISIGNS to keep Kiki with him on the way into pod.
Sometimes that RNG is what's ridiculous. Oh, and there's our boots.
So dipping into pod to get a sword and some boots. Those are pretty good items to have. But interesting that they went without Hammer. That makes me think that Hammer is buried somewhere pretty deep in this seed, either logically behind those boots or just far enough that the runners didn't want to wait that long for boots.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't want to wait too long to grab those boots, especially if they lead to something even more progressive. However, just making your way around the world with the boots is so much more convenient. So I think I would definitely go out of my way just to get those a little early.
And yes, we are headed into Desert Palace, so there's definitely one location that could be boots locked in here.
Now, we didn't pick up that desert's big key yet, so we're not going to be able to finish it, but we are going to be able to grab that hook shot off the torch.
All right, so our runners have gotten mirror and hook shot out of this dip into Dark World. That makes me think that Hammer is locked on the east side of Death Mountain. That is just speculation, but that's my guess right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's another heavy area with a lot of items, so definitely a good one to be able to check out early, even without spoilers.
And Divi went back into Palace of Darkness, pulled off a very clean hammer yump, and is headed into the Dark Maze. We'll see what is waiting in here for our runners.
Oh, it looks like the big key to ice.
Interesting. So we have picked up, between our runners, all three of the non-required big keys at this point. Ice Swamp and Skullwoods. Although I guess now that Harapot has become pretty commonplace, we should start including Tower of Hera big key in that list as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot of the runners, pretty much every single runner I've seen so far in the spoiler log race has really pulled off the new tricks found, like Icebreaker and Diver Down and Harapot. So definitely a lot of work has gone on behind the scenes on behalf of the runners here in the league. So it's really neat to see kind of everything new being implemented.
Yeah, it's been really cool over just the course of the league to sort of see it creeping into more and more runners. And, you know, you can just sort of see how much the level of play of your sort of average rando runner has been increasing. So there is our hammer finally in Super Bunny Cave.
Yeah, it looked like So skipped over Paradox Cave. Wasn't really interested in that, but we are going to get a look at Hookshot Cave. Well, there's our first bottle. And the big key to Dark Palace.
All right, so let's see. Logically, we had to dip into Pod to get the boots, to go to Desert Palace to get the hook shot, to be able to get to east side of Death Mountain to get the hammer and the Pod big key.
What a gross string of logic.
Yep, there's pretty much one of those in every seed that you're going to run. So that's really the big puzzle for the pilots to figure out. Because at this point, you have access to pretty much everywhere you want to go in the world. We might need Flute to get to the Mire area. But now our pilots are pretty much going to be looking for what keys do we need? What are the last couple of items that we need to get to finish out this seed?
Yeah, maybe there is something here in Paradox Cave. So is in there. We got an old man return on DIVISIGNS side. Looks like he just wants that save and quit. Oh, there's Bombos. And our small to desert.
You're always sort of looking as the pilot in these seeds of, you know, how little double dipping can we get away with, and that pod double dip was 100% inevitable, seeming like the Thieves Town one probably was too, since we have not found the Thieves Town big key as of yet.
Yeah, definitely. And I think especially in Key Sanities, you have to be prepared to do the double dips and even the triple dips, just with how the logic of the keys fall. I like that So is kind of taking time to go ahead and pick up some health, you know, along the way. Not really going out of his way, but taking some time just to get a little bit of extra safety. Oh, and very nice Harapot.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's really smart. It's really easy as a pilot to just kind of ignore all the heart pieces, but if you pick up the ones that are along your path, you're going to get a free heart container or two most of the time.
Well, there's our flute to save and quit. Looks like we're not taking down Moldorm while we're here. So that kind of makes me question Pedestal.
Yeah, that seems like Ped is dead, since that's our green pendant also, so I think our runners would definitely be taking care of that one while they were in the area if it was at all worthwhile.
So wasting no time activating that flute. So now we have the boots and the flute. So very nice mobility throughout the overworld now.
Worth noting we got our first bottle up in Hookshot Cave as well, so could be picking up Sick Kid while we're here. If he's got something interesting for us. Yes, we are.
Well, there's our lamp.
Gosh, DIVISIGNS was making me real nervous about those Lionels. Just get out the mirror. But uses the hookshot very well to get those iframes and avoid the Lionel shots.
So heading right into Skull Woods here. Not going to be able to complete it without that fire rod, but definitely going to pick up his silver arrows. Wow, two beautiful Herapots on each of the runner signs.
Yeah, and DIVISIGNS at one heart had zero room for error. All right, so we're going to see some minor differences in routing sort of resolve themselves. Our runners chose different places to go to get their Palace of Darkness keys, which means DIVISIGNS has already made this dip into Skull Woods to grab the silver arrows. So we will see our runners come back together at pretty much the same location once DIVISIGNS has this flute activated and so has the silvers out of this big chest. So yeah, there must have been another bottle somewhere in Logic to put that lamp at Sick Kid available to get us up to Death Mountain to find that flute. And so grabbing both of these pod keys, does that mean there is even more stuff to be found in pod?
Possibly. I mean, we did see DIVISIGNS go out of his way to pick up that big key to Swamp Palace, so maybe not comfortable with the bomb jump or just wanting to have that extra backup while he's in the area.
And oh man, when they picked up that bombos, that's what I was thinking. We are headed toward Ice Palace right now for DIVISIGNS, as so is going over to King's Tomb.
Ooh, and we have an Ice Palace dip.
So just knocking out that Turtle Rock big key during a save and quit. Also going to load up on some potions, so probably thinking Ice Palace as well. This is now full clearable, although we will not get to see any fancy icebreakers today unless this is Kano Samaria in this chest right here.
Oh, the big key to desert.
Wow, so a lot of backloaded big keys that we have seen so far. I mean, this was behind Bombos, which was up on Death Mountain. The Turtle Rock big key was behind those boots. And so I was going to go ahead back to Pod with those newly found Pod small keys. That might be too high. Oh, nope, DIVISIGNS got that. I am not used to that sprite that DIVISIGNS is using, so that bomb jump didn't quite look right to me, but they know what they're doing.
Yeah, that sprite is throwing me off so badly. Well, there's another bottle.
So that, I think, is our bottle that was in Logic for Sick Kid, since that was not lamp locked here in Pod. And so also now grabbing that Ice Palace big key. Oh, that's right. So if that big chest in Ice has something vital, so would have needed to come back to Pod and will likely just take out Helmasaur while he's here. So that's really a cosmetic difference in routing. This Pod double dip was forced to happen, and so, you know, DIVISIGNS hit the back the first time instead of the second time, but no real time difference. And that was the unique and very required Swamp Palace small key in the Ice Palace big chest.
Wow, if this were not a spoiler seed, it would have just been brutal.
Yeah, it feels like Sahabat is saving up some of the really terrible seeds. It's like, no, I can't just give this to them randomly. I gotta save this for the spoilers.
Yeah, definitely.
Right,
Interesting, our runners really don't have too much safety. Like, they don't have Verna, the cape, the powder, you know, so I think that's why they're kind of picking up the bottles, that those might be in rather trolly locations.
So nice Helma fight there from So. DIVISIGNS dealing with a very difficult hammer cold stare fight.
Yeah, DIVISIGNS going back to take on Cold Stare. Has that Samaria now, so it's going to be able to do Icebreaker here in the room, so it's going to be a little bit easier. Well, maybe not doing Icebreaker. Wait, did he not pick up? I thought we got Samaria there. I might be wrong.
We have not seen it yet, so...
For some reason, I thought that's what was in the big chest that I saw. I apologize. The isolation is getting to me. I think we were talking about doing Icebreaker, and somehow that got into my head.
Yeah, the items come a little fast and furious in these particular races, so... Oh, DIVISIGNS not doing the bomb jump this time around.
Yeah, we do have that Ice Palace big key. He's gonna have to grab another small key heading towards the iced tea room, though. Or I'll just make a liar out of me and probably grab one here. Oh, there's Samaria. Okay.
I see. So DIVISIGNS was not going back in for another try at the Cold Stare fight, just grabbing that Cane of Samaria that they might have missed that first time through. It's really easy in the hecticness of a spoiler log to, space out on one item check that you were supposed to make, or just not see something in the log. They are not the friendliest things to read, and so yeah, DIVISIGNS is going to come back for Cold Stare a little bit later.
Yeah, I definitely don't blame them. I think another part of running the spoiler co-ops is knowing when you need to kind of take time out and maybe get some more resources before you attempt something, Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and also by the same token, once you're in the Ice Palace, it's worth taking a shot at that Cold Stare fight. I mean, even if it's a long shot, if it comes through, it will save you a lot of time not having to redip later. So definitely worth the try at that Cold Stare fight that DIVISIGNS took. It just unfortunately didn't work out on the fighter sword and hammer only fight.
Yeah, definitely.
But the big prize out of Ice Palace was that Swamp Small Key, which got us past that door that DIVISIGNS just went through.
Yeah, Zora could definitely be a thing. They both have picked up bottles too along their way, so they might be wanting to be able to stock up on potions. Just because it will be a low percentage fight. So having, I think, 10 hearts now? And blue mail, so definitely feeling a lot safer, but, taking time to get those safeties is not a bad thing. Will we have a left side swamp today?
We will see. That Cane of Samaria opens up some more options for that diver down glitch we were talking about before. There's also a bomb set up for that one. Ooh, and yeah, it looks like we're headed left. Oh my goodness. The rudeness of the seed continues.
Well, some hammer strats on Cold Stare on So's side.
Yeah, and he's picking on one puff in particular, trying to get one of those off the screen as soon as possible.
Yeah, even with blue mail, Cold Stare packs a punch.
A couple of nice double hits on the puffs.
Oh, and we do have a diver down on DIVISIGNS' side.
And I missed it because I was watching that very nice Cold Stare fight from So. Really good hammer mechanics and understanding that hammer hitbox. So very nicely navigated through that fight.
For sure. Definitely the execution on both sides is very, very nice. You know, it adds a little bit more of an element of nerves, I think, when you know you're on a restream and things like that. And they're both doing really great. There's our Thieves Town big key and left side swamp, not grabbing the other side. But yeah, definitely an important key there.
Yeah, and the roles are so different. I mean, with the pilot, you're trying to avoid things like having to, double dip a dungeon or go back for a key that you missed somewhere. You're sort of trying to avoid 2 or 3 minute time losses, whereas the runner has nothing to think about but 2 seconds on every screen and how can I beat this boss as quickly as possible and all those like micro decisions. It's really kind of fascinating how they get split up in that way.
Oh, absolutely. It's I don't think I could play this mode with a co-pilot. I think it would just be... Oh, there's our second sword. And another diver down on DIVISIGNS' side, and we're going to see a Lamola's fight from So.
And our second required big key in Swamp Palace. And yeah, it feels like this sort of ice palace was the major gate that our runners had to get through. So we had to get Bombos to get there. And then we needed the boots, etc., to get up to Death Mountain. But after that, things are opening up just a little bit. Since So is heading over to Desert, we're seeing a little bit more divergence between our runners at this point.
Oh, wow. Nice clutch save there on the Lamola's fight with the silver arrows for So. We have an Argus fight going on in DIVISIGNS.
Yeah, once again, really solid from both runners. Those good double spins from DIVISIGNS on the Argus puffs. And yet that third arrow was very clutch on So's side.
Looks like So might be making that Swamp Palace dip here as well. Looks like maybe a Bombos check here.
Yeah, quite possibly. Yep. And might be heading into Desert Palace, although with the flute, we're always this close to Desert Palace.
Oh, there's our fire rod. So the book definitely was an important pickup.
Yeah, interesting. So, okay, but it feels like the Master Sword was the real barrier to getting that fire rod, since that was in Swamp, which was behind the Ice Palace dip. So no way to have that fire rod before Ice Palace, is my guess, unless there's another sword convenient somewhere.
This is interesting. So picked up that shovel, whereas DIVISIGNS didn't.
Interesting. That was the bombable wall in Swamp.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think we are in no mode except for one Turtle Rock key, right? Because we know the Thieves Town and Eastern big chests are in here, or big keys are in here. So those are going to be clearable in just a minute. Yeah, it's just a third Turtle Rock key that we're looking for.
Oh, I didn't even realize their team name is Shovel is the True Go mode. Okay. I get it now.
Okay,
so maybe
yeah.
that shovel isn't necessarily important, but kind of a team thing. That's cool.
And yes, we do have 3 Turtle Rock keys now. I was looking at So's side, not DIVISIGNS. DIVISIGNS had already picked up that Turtle Rock key that So just grabbed. So yes, we are going to be in go mode on our way out of this dungeon.
I'm kind of wondering where our other sword upgrades are, considering, you know, they're 45 minutes in and just now getting Master Swords. So the other swords must be pretty buried. Because, I mean, who wants to do starter sword cold stare? Ooh, very nice. Yes. Diver down.
Yeah, nice bomb setup for Diver down there. And yeah, chat reminding me about maybe Ice Rod. That could be important since we still have to defeat Trinex. Nope, so you got to jump out of the water and now swim. There we go. Weird little routing that Diver down makes you do, since it looks like you're on top of the water, but you're not. Something about background layers, etc.
Oh, we need that Cannon's Tower big key as well.
That could be helpful.
There's that big key for Thieves Town on So's side.
DIVISIGNS routing in their Turtle Rock big key grab with a potion pickup.
Yeah, both sides have had really nice routing. Looks like another diver down for So. DIVISIGNS heading into the dark world. Yeah.
Another very nice diver down. We sort of saw all the techniques there. So showed us the bomb setup and the left side cane block, whereas DIVISIGNS did the right side cane block. So it seems like So prefers the left side cane block, but I don't believe that works on the pool when you're going to the left side of Swamp, so had to do the bombs down there.
So I imagine we're gonna see So pick up his fire rod here and then probably head into Beefstown to grab that ice rod.
Yep, so having a little trouble with that silver arrow into Argus, but gets that done. And yeah, just has a smidge of overworld cleanup to do, but has a 1 crystal, well, sort of 1.5 crystal lead over Divisigns at this point. Divi is almost to this blind fight.
So we're not getting the Maiden's chest, and no small key to Thieves Town, so it's just straight to blind from here. Yeah, I think So's heading right into Thieves Town here. We got a
Yep.
small key on blind to Ganon's Tower.
It's convenient to pick up along the way. I was about to say, one of those nice little routing decisions that you were talking about a minute ago is going to show up here for Divisigns. By going to the back of Palace of Darkness on their first trip there, they are able to save their Helma trip and pair it with their Eastern Palace dip as well. So that'll be just, you know, it's not a ton of time, but it's one fewer time they sort of have to walk up toward one of those dungeons on the eastern side of the world.
Yeah, Divi does have to go back and take down Cold Stare, but probably be a little bit more equipped there, and does have Samaria and is clearly shown that he's capable of the new Samaria strats, so it's not going to be as bad for him to get back to the boss. Oh, there's Quake in Hammer Pigs. So grabbing his ice rod.
Yep, so I'm going to guess Quake is our Turtle Rock entry today.
Where is our Ganon's Tower big key?
I guess we could start that guessing game. It could be Eastern Palace, could be somewhere in Turtle Rock, could be somewhere in GT itself, or somewhere else in the world. That pretty much covers all the possibilities, right?
Yeah. What bizarre scene.
Yeah, Key Sanity has a way of doing this fairly often. And so got sniped by one of those flying blind heads there, but does get through that fight very easily.
Still don't have any safety items like that cape or Burna, so probably not going to see them at this point, I think.
Yeah, as the runner, you're always like, you're sure I can't get any safeties? And the pilot's like, nope, I promise you can't. And sometimes you're just stuck with that.
So dropped his rupee count under 500, so I'm assuming they were grabbing money for potions, and Zora isn't really going to come into play today. So heading over to take care of Eastern, as Davy is going to take down Helmasaur. Now, neither player has dipped Eastern Palace, so probably not going to find anything too exciting here, since it is so easy to get to early game.
And taking stock of the race a little bit, again, we're seeing our runners kind of come together. So DIVISIGNS was coming into Eastern Palace. So was coming into Eastern right as Divi was starting that Helma fight. And so is up by basically the length of that Helma fight plus the redip of Ice Palace that DIVISIGNS is going to have to do to finish off Cold Stare. So
yeah,
I'd say that's
not making any chest checks here in Eastern, just going straight to the boss.
Yeah, not surprising. As you said, since they could have been here a long time ago, there's probably nothing too good in here. Might have been a heart or two, but apparently not.
And Armmost Knight's going down with just a heart piece, but it is a crystal. Yeah, GT Big could very easily be in TR. Not many of our progressive items were found in item locations. It seemed really dungeon heavy, this seed, so I wouldn't be surprised to see some value in Turtle Rock. And possibly Ganon's Tower itself. I mean, how often is the big key there?
So getting dead rocked pretty hardcore there. Just decided to flute back to 1 and reset everything.
Yeah, I have to think that with So heading up to TR, that this is going to be the last dungeon dip he makes before going to Ganon's Tower. Because you really don't want to make unnecessary Death Mountain climbs. So routing-wise, I feel like this is probably the last time he's going to head up the tower. I mean, up the mountain.
Yeah, although I will say there is always the possibility of some god-awful fetch quest for the GT Big Key. You know, like Mushroom is in Ganon's Tower and you have to, flute down and turn it in for the GT Big Key.
Very true.
I think we've all had garbage seeds like that one.
Divvy heading back into Ice Palace to go ahead and take care of Cold Dare, as so is heading into Turtle Rock. This is our first look inside Turtle Rock. And it was Quake to open up that bad boy.
And Turtle Rock is actually the worst dungeon for keys in Key Sanity. You just cannot do it with fewer than 3 out of the 4 small keys.
That's why I only play Crossworld Key Sanity. Makes Turtle Rock so much more enjoyable.
Oh my gosh, but in cross keys, so often you have to like be in here on 3 hearts and like, you know, do bootless laser skips.
True. So looks like we are at least grabbing the key here, whether or not the TR big key chest has anything exciting.
Seems like the answer is no. We're going full go mode through Turtle Rock.
So is skipping the chest because he knows what's in them. His co-pilot is telling them whether or not to stop and grab things along the way. So he knows there's nothing of value in any of those chests. So he's just going. No worries. This is kind of the first time that we've ever seen this in a tournament, whereas the racer is still unaware of what he's looking for, and his co-pilot is the only one that knows where everything is. So this is a learning experience for everyone. I also wonder where the other swords are. I mean, having the spoiler log, I feel like if they are attainable, that we're going to see them. Never mind. There's one. Laser bridge, of course. Oh, a nice refill. 11 hearts for so. That is so rare in a spoiler log race.
And I gotta wonder if they had calculated that out somehow to get a 4th heart piece on Laser Bridge and get that refill right there. If so, I gotta applaud that. Well done.
Yeah, that was the second time that they got a refill like that. They held off on Hype Cave as well to pick up 2 heart pieces to get another full heart. Would you say it's so rare? I appreciate you. No, there is no prep time. They get this, their co-pilots get the spoiler log as soon as the race begins. So there's no pre-planning or anything. They're planning on the fly. Oh, and there's Ganon's Tower Big Key. What is that? I love it.
Wow. Okay, so that answers all of our questions. Tempered Sword on Laser Bridge and GT Big Key just sitting there under the mat on Trinex. And a very clean Trinex fight from So as well, it should be mentioned.
Oh, there's our cape. I definitely would have went out on my way to get that.
Yeah, it makes phase 2 of that Ganon fight so much easier. So that could definitely be well worth the very small time that it took to go grab it.
So it looks like Berna was in Agina today, which neither of the runners stopped to get. And I'm not sure where our other male upgrade was. I thought I knew, but I must not have written it down.
So this is the joyous part of Key Sanity Seed, is that normally you will have the GT Big Key before you come in, and you can just head right up to the climb. None of that pesky basement clearing.
Grabbing that safety room.
Yeah, I always love when runners hit go mode and you can sort of see their execution just kick up a notch, as that's the only thing they're focusing on. And it's a little bit less pronounced in spoiler mode since they're not thinking about routing too hard. But yeah, definitely we have seen this from So the last couple of minutes. Just kind of blazing through Turtle Rock and the start of this GT climb.
How good does it feel, though, just to run right in Ganon's tower and a Gizani and go straight up? Like, just not have to worry about any of the other 22 chests.
Right. I feel that way about Turtle Rock, too, that, you know, it's just such a kind of annoyingly slow dungeon, and so getting to skip so many chests along the way is also real convenient.
Definitely agree. And another thing, like in Key Sanity and Cross Keys, I absolutely love Mire. In regular rando, I will avoid that dungeon like the plague. I don't know what it is. It's just weird how the different modes really change how you look at dungeons.
Yeah, Key Sanity especially just changes the calculations on how worthwhile it is to dip a dungeon. Got to shout out DIVISIGNS getting the swag cane dash in that block room, and also showing us the backdoor Trinex strats.
Wow, very nice Trinex fight for DIVISIGNS. Really hope I'm saying his name correctly. I've been trying. And Moldorm 2 is down for So, as Divi is heading into Ganon's tower. While not opening a single extra chest in Ganon's tower.
And headed into this Aga 2 fight, gets one hit in that first cycle. Interesting. DIVISIGNS headed over into Tile Room to grab something.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for the runner, but since Divi and Copilot can see the restream if they want to, they might feel like So has this one in the bag and just want to meme a little bit, but might be something like half magic.
Or the single arrow of destiny.
Okay, the single arrow in Tile Room is a good meme. I gotta respect that one. So, making this Ganon fight interesting, though, has used both of those blue potions. And is finishing off phase 2 here. Was set up pretty well to get through phase 2 quickly, but unfortunately the hook shot for the iframes just caught the lamp on the right side. So again, respecting the team name, breaking out the shovel mid-Ganon fight.
I love this. And the pig is dead.
So get your GGs in chat as So finishes this race. Gets the dot done into SRO with an official time of 1 hour, 12 minutes, and 18 seconds.
Wow, really nice Lamola's fight.
So we will see if we can get our runners in here for a little bit of a chat, ask them all those burning questions we still have about this seed.
I still have no idea where the other sword was.
I think I can safely reveal that one. It is in Ganon's Tower. It's actually in the Dark Magician's room on the left side. So not very deep in Ganon's Tower, but still not worth going out of the way once our runners already had Tempered Sword.
Oh, okay. Figured that it had to be buried pretty deep because nobody that can avoid it wants to do starter, master, anything when you have swords available and know where they are.
Yeah, and that definitely means all those Ice Palace shenanigans were definitely required since Fire Rod was locked behind that Master Sword, which was in Swamp, and that was a tricky read for our pilots to get through. So the fact that both of them read through that logic really well, this was really fun to watch. And meanwhile, DIVISIGNS is through that Moldorm 2 fight. And we are joined in chat by our winning runner, So15. GG's.
GG's.
So, yeah, how did you feel about that seed overall?
Yeah, the seed was pretty nice. Way better than all my practice seeds, where I had to go do like 3 to 4 deeps in dungeons. Yesterday I had an Aga seed 2 with the Castle Tower in Laser Bridge in Turtle Rock. So I'm glad that I could have a pretty linear seed overall.
Yeah, and a good amount of health too, which is not always common in these spoiler seeds.
Yeah, that's one thing. One thing I always say to my partners: every piece of heart and heart that you can get to me, I can go a little bit out of ways to get, because on the end game it's pretty worth.
Yeah, and just a quick update, your opponent DIVISIGNS is into phase 3 of the Ganon fight, so pretty comfortably through those first 2 phases. Yeah, so that Ice Palace dip was the real gatekeeper of this race, having to go in with just Fighter Sword to get some required items. That was, I think, where you gained the most of your time, was being able to take out Cold Stare on that first trip in.
Yeah, we were kind of taking a look on how things were going, and when we saw that he died on code, that give us a pretty good amount of confidence to keep on going.
And yeah, DIVISIGNS finishes there, an official SRL time of 1:17:11. So get your GGs in chat for Divi as well. The other question I have to ask, just for my own curiosity, is that heart piece on Laser Bridge. Did you plan that health refill? Because if so, very well done.
Yeah, when I got accidentally 2 heart pieces throughout the the mid game. One was in Blind Cell, and the other one I can't remember. So when I opened the menu to Flute to Turtle Rock, I saw that I have already 3 heart pieces. So Aline took a look on TR and said that has a piece of heart on Laser Bridge, so why not take it?
Yeah, absolutely. Very nicely done there. Well, so I know you want to get over to the Portuguese restream as well,
Yeah.
and talk to them. So unless you have any final thoughts about the seed, we will let you go. But yeah, GG's again, and thanks for coming in and chatting with us.
Yeah, GG's, great job.
Just want to thank everybody to put up the league and get the restream going on. So thank you very much for you guys to commentate the race too. And GG's.
Yeah, GG's again. Thank you so much. And let's see, we have Ralentank here, who is the pilot for DIVISIGNS, in chat with us. Looks like he's getting his microphone worked out there. I don't know if Divi will be coming in or not, but we will chat with them in just a second. There we go. GG's, Ralen.
GG, and Divi won't join us here, so it's only me. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, how did you guys feel about that particular seed?
Yeah, I mean, it was spoiler lucky sanity, which has a tendency to not be very nice as a seed. So that was about expected. Yeah, felt okay for the early route. I'm not optimally. I think the bow on the Smiths didn't have to be picked up there, but yeah, it was still in the early phase. I tried to get him to the flute, then the hookshot, and the boots, and had to work around there somewhere, and worked out okay. And then, yeah, the route came together, but it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, definitely that tricky bit with Bombos kind of blocking one of the swords to get to Fire Rod. It's not very often you see the sword as being really the blocker to progression, but definitely happened in this seed.
Yeah. So, yeah, I basically saw that Fire Rod tried to guide him to the swords for that, but saw, okay, we had to go to Swamp for the second one, but we need to go to Ice for the small key, and said basically, okay, or communicated, talked about it with them, and said basically, Ice Palace, if you can do it, it's probably best to do it first in one go. Yeah. There are days where he can do it, but wasn't, unfortunately, not today.
Yeah, Cold Stare just didn't cooperate very well. Sort of when you get converged on by all three puffs at once, that's it's just hard to get away from.
Yeah, and from that death on, and the little slip up there with not picking up Somaria, which was the plan there, and yeah, we talked about over it and then forgot about it. And then going back for it was probably not a good idea there, but in the end it probably didn't matter because of that death.
Yeah, and I mean, we've been talking about it on the restream that you just have to live on the edge so much in these spoiler seeds, and just push for those, those low percent Cold Stare kills and that sort of thing, that you just kind of get forced to give that a try, and sometimes it doesn't work out. But definitely a good run overall, and as you said, it's a key sanity spoiler seed. It's rarely nice to you, so.
Yeah, also we kind of knew about the execution level of our opponent, so we knew we had to go for the riskier plays if we want to have a race there. So, we know about So being somewhat experienced in NMG and versatile with the Tempered Sword, but DIVISIGNS also played a lot of swordless seeds and likes to play it, so we were basically hoping on having the better experience and execution in low percent fights and have that work out in our favor. And we went for it, but it wasn't meant to be today, sadly.
Yeah, but sometimes you just got to make the play, and I think that was definitely a reasonable one to make. So GG's. You guys are still sitting in second place in your division right now. So how are you feeling about your playoff chances?
Actually, I think this loss might have cost us our opportunity to do it ourselves, or we now have to bank on the other making also mistakes, because we are we are sitting in second place right now, but we are the only team left in our division that hasn't played against Team Awesome, who are surprisingly the first team in our division and still undefeated. And yeah, to beat them in all dungeons co-op, I don't really think that's going to make it. And the second race of our week today, putting us to 24 points, is probably not enough if the other teams don't make mistakes. So yeah.
Yeah, it could be a little bit of an uphill climb. Definitely having the undefeated opponent the last week is a little bit rough, but rando is going to rando, so we'll see how it all shakes out.
Definitely, we will try our best on our second race of the teams, but yeah, then we basically have to hope.
All right. Well, I think that will just about do it for us here. Again, GG's Roland, thanks for coming in and chatting with us. And thanks for putting on this great race for us today. This is a good time to remind everybody out there in chat to follow our runners and our co-pilots as well. Also, follow my wonderful co-commentator, Jinxie Girl. And thank you very much to Dark Diplomat, who is doing the tracking for us today and keeping track of everything in this very fast-paced seed. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, it was definitely a pleasure getting to commentate with you, Cool Papa. It was exciting. So, Chad, don't forget to follow him as well. Wonderful runner, wonderful person. But yeah, there's lots of races on today. So definitely be sure to tune in to kind of break up that boredom and continue to support speed gaming and all your runners, and be sure to take care of each other.
Have a good day, everybody.